board, and it's been a great opportunity for me to get to know him. And so today we're going to just talk about what are some of the things that you've been working on. I know a lot of people see you around the city and see you in different areas, and so we know mental health has been a big push this year, and particularly in the faith communities. And so just want to hear a little bit about what you've been doing around mental health.
Our focus this year has really been, we started an initiative that we called Healthy Minds, Healthy Indy. And so we've been really trying to address the stigma around mental health. We've been, connecting with various mental health providers, whether that's through hospital systems or through individual organizations. We've also been doing mental health first aid trainings, bringing that to the community, especially for our Black and Brown communities. A lot of times we don't want to talk about mental health, but it's real. And we're seeing it play out in a lot of areas. And I truly believe that we have to treat mental health the same way we treat, CPR type of stuff in terms of, we don't panic over CPR. I don't think we need to panic over mental health.
Yeah.
So let's have the conversation. Let's get the training. Let's all be a part of the solution.
Yes.
And not just be the problem. So, we started Healthy Minds, healthyindy.org is the website.
Great.
List of resources there. We go all over the city. We're really just trying to be a connector, between the need and the people who will service the need. Because there's these resources are out there, but we need to make sure we connect to them and get people the help that they need. And I think that the faith-based community, we certainly needs to be a part of that, but as well as other places. We've been blessed to get into IPS and be able to help with some of their teachers and the training around this area. A lot of our children are dealing with trauma.
Yes.
So this thing is real. And again, Healthy Minds, Healthy Indy, we're committed to that. So you'll be seeing more, hearing more about it for years to come, because we know that this mental health issue, Sister Jones, is a huge problem in our community. And again, the Calvary ain't coming. So we have to put things in place to make a difference. I know Sequoia is also doing things in terms of mental health, because this is truly a crisis, and we must seize the moment to say, let's step up and do some things about it as a community.
That's true. That's so true. So if somebody goes to the website of Healthy Minds, Healthy Indy, what will they see? Is it mainly resources that are there, or is it a connection to, calling someone if you're needing some assistance? Exactly what would they see when they go to that website?
Yeah, the main thing is going to be the resources. Some of that is, we're depending on where you are, like books. Some of that stuff is organizations such as NAMI, Suicide Crisis Hotline, but there are also a number of minority organizations who work in this space. We've been real intentional about making sure that people can see people who look like them.
Exactly.
Right. So a lot of times, especially for African Americans, we're going to say, well, they don't understand me. They don't understand where I'm coming from. So we've been blessed to connect with a number of minority-based organizations who say, hey, to lift them up, like a Reclaiming Royalty, In Touch Outreach, who works a lot in that 46218 zip code, along with, quote unquote, the major players in this space that would be like an Overdose Lifeline, NAMI, that people have heard of, or Eskenazi Health, but maybe haven't heard of the Never Alone Project, which is a harm reduction type of services. So, fentanyl strips and Narcan and Narcan trainings. Those things are there. We're, putting video tapes there. So you say, okay, I don't know how to administer Narcan. I ain't been able to go to some training. Well, you can watch a video of it. So you can say, I need to know what to do, or I need to get some. All that stuff is there on the website, along with, the major players that anybody would expect to be there. in terms of like a Eskenazi Health or Drug Free, and some of the national organizations. So there's a mix of some local ones, and many of which are African American led, and that's intentional, along with some of the more statewide and national organizations that one would, instead of just trying to figure out, where's the number, where to get there.
Yeah.
You go to Healthy Minds, healthyindy.org, and there'll be a link to those websites. It also will have, trainings that we've got scheduled that are coming that people can sign up for. We're really big on it, especially for 2023 going into 2024, trying to get as many people mental health first aid trained as possible. Then also some things around stress management.
Okay. Now, when you talk about the mental health first aid, that really caught my attention, because is that through NAMI that you guys are doing that?
No, we're actually working more with Eskenazi on that, but we also utilize some Black-owned certified people.
Okay.
In Touch is one of them that we use as well. So depending on the timing of when somebody wants the session, and who we're working with, that will often guide who we will be in touch with. We're fully aware that NAMI does it as well.
Yeah. Okay.
So at this time, we've not used them for that particular project. Okay.
So if a church says, okay, tell me a little bit more about this mental health first aid, or I'd like to bring it to my church, what could they be expecting?
Here's what they can be expecting. What Healthy Minds, Healthy Indy will do is that we will provide some incentives for people who attend. We want you to complete it. So we're talking like $50 gift cards or $75 gift cards for people who attend. We will coordinate getting the speaker there, pay for them. This can be done, a number of ways, on Zoom or in person. So we will take care of that as Healthy Minds, Healthy Indy. Some expenses, breakfast, some food stuff.
That's great.
We'll take care of that. We'll take care of the speakers or the teachers, facilitators, if you will, and provide an incentive for it, because everything we're doing is incentive based. So if you go through a stress management seminar, a grief seminar, we have been able to gain some financial resources through the African American, the grant process that the Urban League was a part of. So we're using those dollars to provide incentives. We truly believe, and we know you're always competing for somebody's time, right, Sister Joan? So if you're competing for their time,
that's true.
Give them something. They're much more inclined to participate. Everybody's busy. Everybody's trying to make it. So that's what we're trying to do. So church, group, something. That's
like a community group or something like that, social group. So how many hours would they be looking at committing to? Because you covered a lot of topics there. There's a lot of things there. So is this one session for a day, or is it a couple of sessions broke out? Or
all of this it all depends.
If
doing mental health first aid, first of all, for mental health first aid, there are really two curriculums. There's a mental health first aid for youth. Work with young people, and there's a mental health first aid for adults.
Good.
So either one of those is roughly 7-8 hours, depends on how much conversation is involved, is that. Now, if you go to like a stress management type of seminar, you can do that in multiple ways. You can split that up over 4 weeks for like an hour. Let's commit a Saturday, half a Saturday to it. So it really varies. We try to be flexible with who the group is and how they want to do it, what works for them in terms of attendance. Do you want to, hey, just do it, let's say this Saturday we're going to get together and this is what we're going to do, or we want to do it Tuesday night, and we want to do it from 6 to 7 or from 7 to 8, and do it that way. We've had when for our church, I used it for doing a Bible study, what would be a normal Bible study period, and say, okay, for this period, this month, instead of the normal Bible study process, we're going to do a stress management piece.
Okay, that's great.
Like that. So
Mhm.
this thing is flexible. There may be some other way. Maybe somebody wants to split it up 2 hours and 2 hours. Okay.
Mhm.
What we do is say, you tell us what you how you want to roll out what works best for your group. We will then work with the facilitators and say, facilitator, hey, we need it this way this time,
Mhm.
and
Okay.
pair the two up and make it work. And
Okay.
what we require for the gift card is complete a survey on the back end, what you thought, so we can have the feedback to pass on.
Okay.
We're certainly committed to anybody that wants to do it. Just reach out to us and we'll make sure that we get it coordinated for you.
That's wonderful. So basically people can kind of a la carte, they can get what it is that they're needing and the amount of time that they want to commit to. That's great. And so as you were talking, I was thinking about the suicide, issue that we have. I just heard recently was 50,000 people have committed suicide. And when you think of that, that's just astronomical. It's just sad to think that people feel alone or that they don't have someone that they can talk to or go to or relate to. So this is great to hear that there's this opportunity for people to be educated on that. Because I think in our society, we just kind of roll with the punches. And like you said, people are busy. So everybody's kind of doing their own thing and we're not always paying attention necessarily to what may be going on with maybe a coworker or someone at our church or in our youth group and everything. So this is wonderful to hear this information. One of the things Sequoia is looking at is mental health, even for older adults. Because people live a lifetime sometime with mental health issues, and maybe they're addressed and maybe they're not addressed in that sense. And so when you were mentioning that oftentimes people don't want to talk about it, or they don't want to, maybe say something about what's going on with them. I think it's just really important now. And I think one thing COVID did for us was that people are now at least starting to talk about mental health, where before if you kind of said something, they're like, I don't really want to talk about that. So we do have the Faith Summit coming up in November, and we're also going to deal with mental health. And one of the things we're going to do is try to have breakout groups so people can talk about stress, or they can talk about suicide prevention, or they can talk about addiction issues, or they can talk about depression, any of those particular things. And then how does the faith community address those issues? Because I think as a pastor, I'm sure you've run into situations where people come in and said, we got a crisis, something's going on with our loved one. And you're like, okay, what am I getting ready to deal with, in this situation? So I think it's really great, this training, that it can happen across the board for lay people as well as for pastors. So if you can speak to just in your own experience as a pastor, how has it been for you to even address these mental health issues that may come up in families or certain situations?
Sister Jones, really, COVID really pricked my heart in addressing this, because with COVID, a lot of seniors, etc., are now in at home, not getting out due to the dangers of COVID, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So as you go to check on the seniors, and it's why this is so important, it helps when you know what to ask and what to listen for. So you can pick up on, am I dealing with some depression? Somebody's got depression or suicidal thoughts, because it creates your own personal trauma. If something happens and you look back and say, I missed the sign, I should have picked up on it. Yeah, we should have picked up on it. And that's why the training is so important. So I'm excited about what Sequoia is going to be doing in November, because that training is imperative. So as you're talking to your friend or whoever, your auntie, your senior person, grandmother, there's certain things you need to listen for, but you need that training to listen for it, right?
Exactly.
Say, okay, oh, wait a minute now, I heard something. Or you're asking the right questions to see where they are, and that will help you respond quicker versus, oops, something is traumatic now. And when you replay the conversation, oh, I should have caught that. Well, we should have caught that. But if you're not trained, you won't catch it. That's true. Why the mental health first aid training, those things are so critical. And I think especially in the faith-based community, it's not just the pastor, it's all the people who's interacting with all these other people to say, here are some of the symptoms. Here's what you need to listen for. What was the response? And so when you do that, you show a concern and you can get ahead of some stuff.
Yeah.
Whether, hey, I need to talk more with this person, or I need to connect them with some services. You'll know. But I think too many times, we miss the conversations and listen. Because most people, even those that, commit suicide, they've given some hints.
Oh, definitely.
Problem is most people went right over our head. We didn't catch it. And, we can, be a part of the solution.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, whether it's words of encouragement, whatever it is, we can give and put in there. But it takes, one person can't do it for an entire congregation.
That's so true.
Community, right? So we need as many people as possible that will get the training, so they can just pick up on, in the circles you're running with, whether it's on the job, whether it's just, family reunions and stuff is going on now.
Exactly.
Winter is always difficult a lot of times because it's colder and darker. And so when you're having a conversation, you've called somebody, you can listen to say, hey, what am I hearing here for real?
Exactly. Yeah.
The trauma on the back end as much.
Yeah, because we definitely learned that social isolation and not being around other people is very difficult for people cognitively, so we need that socialization. We need to be around people. And I even think in the sense of, have we seen people come back into churches? Are they coming back inside the buildings? I think for some people, they're still a little nervous about that. I just heard yesterday there's another string of COVID, coming through. And so as a result of that, I think that's a trauma that we still continue to experience. And we haven't talked about the trauma of COVID so much, in the sense of the fact that all of us have been affected and changed as a result of this pandemic. And so even when you're talking about that, it makes me think about, deacons and the nurses boards, all the people that kind of come in contact with someone, being aware and being insightful into listening to a person's story. Yeah. So even if there's a visitation and you go and you can tell that the person has all the windows, the blinds closed, and they're not, really connecting with society, or do they have a lot of clutter in their home? Those are things that are signs that someone may be depressed or going through some depression. And so, yeah, I think it's really important for everybody in the congregation to know that, because sometimes it's those people who know more, right? And then they bring it to the pastor later. Like, it's like, oh, yeah, that's been going on for about a year. We just didn't say anything, So we want people to speak up now, right?
Exactly. We definitely need that, says Jones, that because there's so many people. It could be the missions group that gets together. It's whoever, the group that assembles. But if we can pay attention to one another, then that will be extremely important.
Yeah, making those connections.
Yeah, making the connection. And even if you don't know what to do, just saying, I recognize that, and can go talk to somebody and say, hey, now I'm kind of seeing this out of brother or sister so-and-so. What do you think? What can we do? All of that is important versus dealing with, some trauma we probably could have prevented way on the back end. If we can just say, well, I ain't sure what to do with it, but maybe I call Sister Denise. Hey, Sister Denise, here's what I'm noticing. Do you know somebody? Can we connect? What do you think we should be doing?
Exactly. Yeah.
Step forward for our community, because we're really closer to other individuals and say, some far off organization.
Yeah.
And so we got to look out for our brothers and sisters.
That's so good. That's so true. And it's interesting when you say that, because we really don't want to tell people they have to become mental health clinicians, are professionals, but know the resources. And I think that's the biggest thing, that sometimes people don't know where to go or where the resources are. So I love hearing about this website, because in that sense, at least gives people some direction on where to go and who they may be able to connect somebody with, so it doesn't mean we don't want to tell people you have to solve the problem, but we want you just to be aware. I think there's a big awareness that happens there. I was looking at an article today, and this gentleman is practicing medicine, and he's like over 100 years old, and he's a neurologist. And so he was saying, one of the things that has kept him alive, is that all his friends have kind of died. I remember my mother saying that, just like, my friends are gone. And so sometimes that's really sad for people. But he said, but I've met new friends. So I stay around younger people and I, engage in social activities so that I can continue to learn and inspire my brain, And then he was saying that also it was important to go out to dinner, to, meet up with his kids, meet up with, other friends and family that are still in existence. So that's one thing about the church, is that you still have those people in the church that are generational, right? So even as people are seeing their friends who are more their age that are dying off, we really want to continue to keep them connected and let them know they still are of value.
Exactly. Now, one point I do want to reemphasize that you said that is so true. We're not saying that, you need to be, any of us need to be a clinician, a psychologist, a psychiatrist.
Mm-hmm.
I do not claim to be that. I see this mental health first aid the same way you see CPR. The CPR person trained is not a cardiologist. He or she is not a doctor.
Mm-hmm.
They simply have something there. One of the first steps is call 911, right? Call 911. They're just there until help shows up on the scene.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the way I want people to see mental health first aid. You're not called to be a clinician. You're not called to be a professional.
Mm-hmm.
All you're doing is, I recognize this, and it's going to be the same method. Call in many cases, if it's an overdose or something, you call 911. You ain't the solution. You're not the professional. Call 911. I'm just here until the professional shows up.
Great point.
988 is available. I'm just here until the professional shows up. Yeah. We're not asking anybody. These trainings are not saying or certifying anybody to be a specialist, a psychologist. No.
Mm-hmm.
We need to stay in our lane. We're here. We notice something. There's a problem. CPR, you're bleeding. This is going on.
Yeah.
Call 911.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just here doing what I'm doing for my training until the professional, EMS, whoever shows up, fire department, police, etc. It's the same way in this space. We're not asking anybody to be the professional, but you're just the one saying, "Oh, there's a problem here. I'm calling to get help. I'm just hanging out until the help arrives." So when you say, we ain't trying to be that. I mean, somebody desires to go to school and do all that. That's great. But that's not our assignment. Our assignment is we can help our brothers and sisters. If we say, I just recognize this is a problem, I'm calling in 988, 911, whatever situation. But I'm just there calling them in until the real professional knows what they're doing is doing.
Exactly. That's a good point. So I think it's great to let people know that, the 988 is the suicide hotline. You mentioned Narcan, and that's for people who have overdosed on heroin or any type of opiates. We want people to understand what that is. They're probably like, what's Narcan? So it's really something that can be administered through the person's nose and hopefully can bring them back until the emergency people arrive, your paramedics and your fire department and all. And then the other part is that we have also 211, which is an option for people to get resources. So even if a person's thinking about, some of the stress can be financial, right? So if they're really struggling to figure out how they're going to pay their rent, pay their light bill, pay their gas bill, then those are numbers that they want to call as 211 so that they can get some resources there. So we're wrapping up. HB, unfortunately, is having camera problems. So he's on the line. He's on my phone listening in. And so we're sorry that he's not with us, but we're glad we were able to be with you today, Pastor Greene. And say again that website so people can write it down and know the website.
It's Healthy Minds, healthyindy.org. I also want to say 988 is expanded in the state of Indiana. So it's really any mental health type of episode. You can call 988 and a professional, someone's going to answer that can guide you to a professional resource. So that's for any mental health breakdown thing that someone's experiencing. So it's now extended beyond just a suicide situation. I encourage people. And a lot of times we think, well, the only thing I can do is call 911 when it's mental health. We're now separating that. It's going on nationally, so every state had to do it. It was in its pilot phase at the first part of 2023, but it's official now with the last legislative session. There's funding in the state of Indiana for all across our state.
Right.
Or in Indiana, you call 988 for a mental health type of episode. So
that's wonderful. That's wonderful. That's great. And that makes it a simple number as opposed to trying to figure out where's a crisis line or something like that. So that's great. I'm glad that you expanded on that. So Healthy Minds, Indy, Healthy Indy.
Healthy Indy.
Healthy Indy.
HealthyIndy.org.
Okay. HealthyIndy.org.
I miss HB.
I know I miss HB too. He always spices up the conversation a bit. So, but thank you so much, Pastor Greene. I'm so glad that you were able to join us. I'm looking forward to seeing you.
I miss you too. I don't know if you can hear me, brother, but I love you, Pastor.
Did you hear him? He said he loves you, Pastor Greene. Okay.
RadioNext.tv, man, please forgive me. When your camera breaks in the middle of a show and you can't go buy one, that's what happens. But great information. Healthy Mind Indy is what we're talking about here today on the Sequoia Aging in a Home Solution. Mental